After tomorrow night, he won't have any credibility left. Trust me. That's what my wife Angela texted her lover about me, about my birthday party, about the public humiliation she'd carefully orchestrated. She thought she was 3 steps ahead, the faithful wife finally standing up to her neglectful husband. She had no idea I'd been documenting everything, that federal agents were on speed dial, that the man she trusted with her future was actually a criminal using her as cover. What happened when I turned her betrayal into the most spectacular exposure in Chicago history will make your jaw drop. Viewers, when you discover someone's darkest plan against you, do you warn them or do you let them walk straight into the trap? Comment below. Before this story begins, subscribe. You'll never look at relationships the same way again. My name is Noah Jax. I'm 37 years old, a senior financial analyst at Morrison & Caldwell in downtown Chicago. For the past 12 years, I've been the guy who shows up early, stays late, and makes sure the numbers add up while everyone else takes credit. I live in a renovated brownstone in Lincoln Park with my wife of 9 years, Angela, and our 7-year-old daughter, Maya. People always said we were the perfect couple. Angela, a successful real estate agent with her own boutique firm, always looked like she stepped out of a magazine. Me, I was the stable one, the provider. The guy who believed love meant sacrifice, compromise, and showing up even when you're exhausted. But 6 months ago I started noticing things. Small things. Angela's phone face down on the counter. Late-night client meetings that smelled like expensive cologne when she came home. The way she'd smile at her screen, then go cold when she saw me watching. I didn't want to believe it. My own parents divorced when I was 8, and my mother spent years poisoning me against my father, making me believe he was the villain. I was 23 when I learned the truth, that he'd been faithful, that she'd been the one who destroyed everything, that he'd still protected us from the ugly reality. I swore then that if I ever had a family, I'd fight for it differently. I'd never let my child grow up with weaponized lies. So I watched. I documented. I hired a private investigator 3 weeks ago after finding a hotel receipt in Angela's car, dated on a Tuesday. She claimed to be showing houses in the suburbs. The PI sent me photos yesterday. Angela and a man with slicked back hair and an expensive suit, touching hands over wine. His name was Dominic Reeves. And this morning, on my 37th birthday, Angela told me she'd invited him to my party. "Happy birthday, baby," Angela said, sliding a plate of perfectly arranged pancakes in front of me. She was wearing that white silk robe I'd bought her last Christmas, the one she said made her feel like a movie star. The morning light caught her blonde hair just right, and for a second I saw the woman I'd married. Then she smiled and it didn't reach her eyes. I forced myself to smile back. "Thanks, Ong." My coffee tasted like ash. She poured herself a cup, movements too precise, too rehearsed. "So, I've been planning something special for tonight. A birthday dinner. Just close friends and family." My stomach tightened. Angela hadn't thrown me a party in years. She'd always said my birthdays were too low-key for her taste, that I didn't appreciate celebration enough. Last year, she'd forgotten entirely until Maya reminded her at bedtime. "Who's coming?" I asked, keeping my voice casual. "Oh, you know. Your brother Marcus, my sister Cynthia, a few people from my office." She paused, watching me over the rim of her mug. "And I invited someone I think you should meet. His name is Dominic. He's been incredibly helpful with some of my bigger property deals lately." The air left my lungs. I set down my fork carefully, watched the syrup pool around the pancakes. Dominic Reeves. The man from the photos. The man whose cologne I'd smelled on her skin. She was bringing him into our home. Into our life. In front of everyone we knew. "Dominic," I repeated slowly, testing the word. "That's great. Looking forward to meeting him." Angela's smile widened, sharp as broken glass. "I thought you might be." She left the kitchen humming, and I sat there staring at untouched pancakes, my mind racing. She was planning something. This wasn't just about flaunting her affair. This was calculated. Strategic. I pulled out my phone and texted my PI, "Need everything on tonight. She's making her move." I spent the afternoon in my locked office while Angela prepared downstairs, but I wasn't hiding. I was preparing for war. See, Angela didn't know that I'm not just good with numbers. I'm exceptional at finding patterns, discrepancies, things that don't add up. And for the past month, I'd been digging into more than just her affair. I'd been digging into Dominic Reeves himself. My PI had sent me files this morning. Dominic wasn't just some real estate hotshot. He was under federal investigation for money laundering through property deals, and Angela's firm had been unknowingly facilitating it. I'd traced shell companies, offshore accounts, falsified documents. Dominic was using Angela's legitimacy as cover, and she was either complicit or dangerously naive. But the worst part sat in a folder on my screen. Text message transcripts recovered from Angela's cloud backup. Messages between her and Dominic talking about getting rid of the dead weight. Me. Plans to divorce me, take the house, drain our joint accounts, claim I'd been financially abusive. One message from 2 days ago made my blood freeze. After tomorrow night, he won't have any credibility left. Trust me. Dominic had replied, "You're sure this will work?" He's too proud to make a scene in front of everyone. By the time he realizes what happened, it'll be too late. I sat back, hands shaking. She was going to humiliate me tonight. Publicly. Destroy my reputation in front of our friends and family so that when she filed for divorce, everyone would believe her narrative. The sad, neglectful husband. The absent father. I opened another folder. Inside were recordings from devices I'd legally installed in our home 3 weeks ago. Audio of her with Dominic in our bedroom. Video in our living room. Conversations about their plan. I had everything. And tonight, so would everyone else. By 7 p.m., our home looked like something from a lifestyle magazine. Angela had spared no expense. Catered food, expensive wine, candles everywhere creating shadows that danced across walls. My brother Marcus arrived first, bear-hugging me hard enough to crack ribs. Big 3'7" man. Angela said she went all out. He had no idea. She definitely did, I said quietly. Cynthia, Angela's sister, arrived next, kissing my cheek with her usual fake warmth. She'd never liked me, thought Angela had married down, that I wasn't ambitious enough for her brilliant sister. Then came Angela's colleagues from her firm, people I barely knew, people who'd probably heard whatever story she'd been spinning about me for months. And then he arrived. The door opened and Dominic Reeves stepped inside, tall, handsome, confident in that way that comes from never being told no. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. Our eyes met and I saw it. Surprise, then calculation, then that practiced smile sliding into place. Dominic. Angela practically sang, rushing to greet him with a hug that lasted 3 seconds too long. Her hand lingered on his chest. Everyone, this is Dominic Reeves. He's been an absolute lifesaver with some of my commercial deals. He extended his hand to me, that smile never wavering. Noah. Happy birthday, man. Angela's told me so much about you. I shook his hand, matching his grip pressure exactly. Funny. She's barely mentioned you at all. Something flickered in his eyes. Angela laughed nervously. Noah's always so focused on work, he barely listens when I talk about mine. The room chuckled. First cut. Subtle. Painting me as the inattentive husband. I smiled and said nothing, watching Dominic's hand rest possessively on the small of my wife's back. Marcus frowned beside me, sensing something off. The evening was just beginning and already the knife was out. Dinner started normally enough. Marcus told embarrassing stories from our childhood, like the time I tried to impress a girl by jumping off the garage roof and broken my arm. Cynthia complained about her latest boyfriend, some investment banker who'd ghosted her. Angela played the perfect hostess, refilling glasses, laughing at all the right moments. But I noticed things. The way she kept glancing at Dominic. How he'd positioned himself directly across from me, like we were facing off. How Cynthia kept shooting me sympathetic looks that felt rehearsed. Then came dessert, a massive chocolate cake with Happy 37 Noah written in gold frosting. Angela stood, tapping her wine glass with a fork. The sound cut through conversation like a gunshot. Everyone, I want to say a few words. My stomach dropped. This was it. Noah and I have been together for almost 13 years, she began, voice carrying that trembling quality she used when she wanted sympathy. And I think it's time we're honest about where we are. Marcus shot me a confused look. I kept my face neutral, hands folded on the table. Marriage is hard work, Angela continued, especially when one person is always absent. Always prioritizing spreadsheets over family. Always making excuses about deadlines and quarterly reports. Cynthia nodded sympathetically. Dominic watched me with barely concealed satisfaction. Several of Angela's colleagues murmured agreement. I've been trying to save this marriage, Angela said, her voice cracking perfectly on cue. Going to therapy alone, reading books, trying to reconnect. But I can't do it by myself anymore. And I think Noah knows that deep down. She turned to me, eyes glistening with manufactured tears. Don't you, honey? The room held its breath. Everyone staring at me, waiting for me to crumble, to apologize, to accept blame for the marriage she destroyed. Instead, I set down my fork carefully. Angela, I said calmly, meeting her eyes. Are you really doing this? Right now. She dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. You deserve honesty, Noah. We both do. These people care about us and they deserve to understand why you've been sleeping with Dominic for the past 6 months. The room went silent. Wine glasses froze midair. Cynthia gasped. Angela's face drained of color. What? Oh, I'm sorry, I said, standing slowly. Was I not supposed to mention that part? The part where you've been having an affair? Or should we keep pretending this is about me working too much? Dominic shifted in his seat, jaw tight. Angela recovered quickly. I give her that. Noah, you're drunk. You're embarrassing yourself. I haven't touched my wine. I pulled out a small remote control from my jacket pocket. But let's talk about embarrassment. What is that? Her voice cracked, real fear bleeding through now. This is the truth you wanted, Angela. Just not the version you planned. I pressed a button. The large television on the living room wall flickered to life. A slideshow began. Photos of Angela and Dominic at restaurants I couldn't afford, hotels downtown, a weekend getaway to Lake Geneva. Every image time-stamped and dated. I'd even included the hotel receipts. Noah, stop this. Angela lurched toward me, but Marcus gently blocked her. Let him finish, my brother said quietly. Next came the text messages, projected in crisp high definition. Their conversations about me. How boring I was. How easy it would be to take everything. Angela's promises that she'd handle me, that I was too proud to fight back publicly. Dude, Marcus breathed, staring at the screen. Cynthia had gone pale. Angela's colleagues were recording on their phones. But I wasn't done. Not even close. Now, Dominic, I said, turning to him, let's discuss Sunset Heights Commercial Plaza. Dominic's face went from tan to ashen in seconds. Or should we call it by its real name, Offshore Account 7743? I clicked to the next slide. Financial documents, wire transfers, shell company registrations. Evidence of money laundering through commercial real estate deals that Angela's firm had processed. What the hell is this? Angela whispered. This is what your boyfriend really does, He doesn't develop properties. He launders money through them. And he's been using your firm's legitimacy as cover. I'd spent 2 weeks coordinating with federal investigators. They'd been building a case against Dominic but needed evidence linking him to specific properties. I'd given them everything, every transaction Angela had unknowingly facilitated. In exchange, they'd promised her immunity if she cooperated. Dominic stood abruptly, his chair scraping against hardwood. You have no idea what you're doing, Noah? Actually, I know exactly what I'm doing. The doorbell rang. Perfect timing. Angela looked at me, genuine terror in her eyes now. Who is that? That, I said, walking toward the door, would be the FBI. I opened the door to reveal 2 federal agents in dark suits, badges already displayed on their belts. Special Agent Sarah Chin, my friend from college before she joined the bureau, gave me a small nod. Dominic Reeves? Agent Chin said, her voice carrying authority that filled the room. We have a warrant for your arrest on charges of money laundering, fraud, and racketeering. The room exploded. Dominic bolted for the back door, but Marcus, God bless my former college linebacker brother, tackled him straight into the dining table. Plates shattered. The birthday cake toppled. Wine splattered across white tablecloth like blood. Get off me! Dominic shouted. Noah! Angela screamed. What did you do? I watched them cuff Dominic, my voice steady as stone. I did what you should have done, Angela. I chose the right side. The agents read Dominic his rights while Angela sobbed, mascara streaming down her face in black rivers. Cynthia sat frozen, wine glass still clutched in her hand. Angela's colleagues backed toward the door, probably already composing the messages they'd send to everyone they knew. Marcus stood beside me, hand on my shoulder. Mrs. Jax, Agent Chin said, her tone professional but not unkind, we need to speak with you as well. You're not under arrest, but we have questions about your transactions with Mr. Reeves. Specifically about 12 properties processed through your firm in the last 8 months. Angela looked at me with pure hatred burning through tears. You bastard. You planned this whole thing. You planned to destroy me first, I said quietly. You were going to humiliate me, divorce me, take everything, and claim I was an abusive father. I just played better chess. She staggered backward like I'd struck her. How did you? I'm good with patterns, remember? I found your messages. Your plan. The lawyer you consulted about sole custody of Maya. Saying our daughter's name broke something in her face. Oh God. Maya. Is upstairs asleep at your mother's house where I made sure she'd be tonight. Because unlike you, I actually protect our child. Agent Chin cleared her throat. Mr. Jax has been cooperating with our investigation for 3 weeks. Mrs. Jax, if you're willing to provide testimony about Mr. Reeves's business practices, we can discuss immunity from prosecution. Angela stared at the agents hauling Dominic toward the door. He wouldn't look at her. Of course he wouldn't. Men like him never did when the walls closed in. I need a lawyer, she whispered. That's your right, Agent Chin said. We'll be in touch tomorrow. They left with Dominic in handcuffs and slowly, carefully, the remaining guests filed out. No one knew what to say. Within 15 minutes, the house was empty except for me and Angela. We sat on opposite ends of the couch, the space between us a canyon that would never be crossed again. The destroyed party lay scattered around us. Broken plates, spilled wine, a ruined cake with my name still visible in gold frosting. How long have you known? Angela's voice was hoarse from crying. About the affair? 2 months. About his criminal activities? 6 weeks. About your plan to humiliate and divorce me tonight? 3 weeks. She laughed bitterly, a sound like breaking glass. And you just waited? Planned this whole revenge fantasy? I documented everything. Built a case. Protected myself and our daughter from the narrative you were creating. I leaned forward, elbows on knees. What I don't understand is why, Angela. We had problems, sure. Every marriage does. But why this? Why him? She was quiet for a long time, staring at her hands. You were never really here, Noah? Physically, yes. But emotionally? You checked out years ago. After Maya was born, you just disappeared into work and numbers and spreadsheets. I was providing for our family. You were hiding, she snapped. From me, from fatherhood, from anything that required actual feeling. Dominic made me feel seen. Desired. Alive. Dominic was using you to launder money. I know that now. Her voice cracked. But at least he looked at me. At least he made me feel like more than a housekeeper and nanny. The words stung because there was truth in them. I had worked too much. I had used my job as armor against the vulnerability marriage required. My father had done the same thing before my mother destroyed him. I'd sworn not to repeat his mistakes and ended up recreating them differently. You're right, I said finally. I wasn't the husband you needed. But you didn't just leave, Angela. You betrayed me. Plotted against me. Tried to destroy me. She nodded, tears falling silently. Here's what happens now, I said, my voice hollow. The FBI has offered you immunity if you testify against Dominic. You'll lose your real estate license for a while, but you won't go to prison. I've already filed for divorce. I have documentation of your infidelity and your plan to defraud me in the settlement. So you get everything, she said bitterly. No. We split assets fairly, except the house, which stays with Maya and me. You get supervised visitation until you complete therapy. Court-ordered therapy, Angela. For both of us, actually. She looked up, surprised. You're going to therapy? Yeah. Because I want to understand how I contributed to this. Not the affair, that's on you. But the distance. The walls. I want Maya to have a father who knows how to be present. Angela wiped her eyes, smudging mascara further. Why aren't you destroying me completely? You could. You have enough evidence to take everything to make sure I barely see Maya. I thought about my own father, how my mother had poisoned me against him for 15 years. How I'd missed his entire remarriage, the birth of my half-sister, countless moments because of lies. How when I finally learned the truth, the damage was irreversible. Because despite everything, you're still Maya's mother. And I'm not you, Angela. I don't destroy people for revenge. I protect what matters. She stared at me for a long moment, and I saw something shift in her face. Not love. That was gone, buried beneath too much betrayal. But maybe respect. Maybe the first honest acknowledgement we'd shared in years. I'm sorry, she whispered. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I know. I stood, exhausted down to my bones. You should pack some things. Stay with Cynthia for now. The lawyers will be in touch. She nodded, standing slowly. At the stairs she paused. Noah? You would have made a terrible criminal. Too much conscience. I almost smiled. 6 months later, I sat in Lincoln Park watching Maya chase falling leaves, and I thought about how betrayal teaches you things peace never could. Dominic Reeves was serving 8 years in federal prison. His entire operation had collapsed when Angela and 14 other unwitting accomplices testified. The investigation revealed he'd defrauded over $40 million through fake property schemes across 6 states. Angela cooperated fully and avoided criminal charges. She lost her real estate license for 2 years and completed court-ordered therapy. Our divorce was finalized 4 months ago. We share custody of Maya now, and slowly, painfully, we're learning to co-parent. She's dating again, a teacher this time, someone normal and kind. Someone I've actually met and approved of for Maya's sake. She'll never be my friend, but she's becoming a better mother. Marcus still brings it up at family gatherings. Remember when you took down a federal criminal at your own birthday party? It's his favorite story. I got promoted to director of financial analysis. Turns out the board was impressed when they learned I'd uncovered a multi-million-dollar fraud scheme in my spare time. I've been dating Sarah, a pediatric nurse from my gym. She has a laugh that makes me forget my armor for moments. It's slow and careful, but it's real. Maya's in play therapy, processing the divorce with a specialist. She's resilient, stronger than both her parents combined. And me? I learned that revenge isn't about destruction, it's about restoration. It's about protecting what matters and refusing to let someone else's darkness dim your light. My phone buzzed. A text from Agent Chin. Noah, remember that case I mentioned? The hedge fund embezzlement with the cheating spouse? Still interested in consulting? I looked at Maya, laughing as leaves rained down around her, and smiled. Some stories end. Others are just beginning. I typed back, send me the details. If this shocked you, subscribe, like, comment, and share, because the next story is worse.